Hi, I'm Sergio with Arvig Tech Talk. Welcome to another episode. Today, as you probably guessed, we're going to be looking at the inside of a computer, kind of give you the basic idea of what's in there, what can be done to a computer, and what can't be done to a computer. So we'll talk about some of the parts, look more closely at them and what they do, and I think you'll come out learning quite a bit. What I'm going to start off by telling you is a computer is a lot like anything else that's built and does multiple functions. It's like a car. You know, a car has lots of parts, the engine, the tires, the frame, everything else. A computer's just like that. You have multiple parts that work together, maybe even like a human body and all the different organs, and once they're put together, do a task. So what are those parts and what do they do? I'm going to start off by talking about something called the motherboard. If you look at this, behind everything, all these wires, is one big green square called the motherboard. As you can guess from the name, that's very important. The reason it's important is because all parts of the computer, every other part there is, literally connects to the motherboard in some way. Next part, which is behind this metal plate here, is something called the hard drive. The hard drive is where all your data is stored. So we're talking about your music, your videos, your programs, your files, your documents. Anything that's on your computer is stored on a hard drive. The next part is something that's changed quite a bit on computers, especially as the computer gets older, you have to add more of this. It's something called RAM. It's also called memory. The reason it's called memory, it's different than your hard drive. It doesn't actually store data. It temporarily stores data, actually. What does that mean? Well, every time you use a program, you're typing, a sentence in Microsoft Word, perhaps. As those letters come up, it has to store that data somewhere for a very short period of time. It doesn't want to put that on the hard drive because hard drives are slow. In the computing world, a hard drive is slow. RAM is practically instantaneous. So if it had to write that data to the hard drive, every letter you typed would show up. You'd hit the letter, and then it would pop up on the screen a little bit later. RAM lets it so you type it, it puts it up, and then it forgets it. It's just there. So that's why RAM's important. The reason you add more RAM to a computer as it gets older is because you buy a computer 1 year, and then 5 years later you want to use it to do so much more than it was originally designed to do. Adding more RAM to your computer can make it faster, let you do more, and do more advanced things. Back to the parts. Another very important part is called the processor, or it's also called the CPU. You've probably heard the term Pentium, or i3, or dual core. Those are all terms that have to do with the processor. It's literally the brains of the computer. Every piece of information that your computer does goes through the processor. So it's nice to have a fast one of those. The only other part on the computer we really need to talk about is the case, or if you think of it like a frame. That's the whole metal exterior. All the parts are mounted to the case, screwed in, and if you need to add more, are also mounted in. So let's say I want to replace or add a new hard drive. I take out the old one, or if I have room for two, I put in the other hard drive and screw it into the case and then connect it to my motherboard. It can be very intimidating, and I want to warn you, if you've never opened a computer up before, I wouldn't recommend doing it unless you have a professional or someone with you that has. But there are some things that are user serviceable. One thing I would say is, if you've learned how to open your computer up and feel comfortable, it's good to maybe blow out the dust. But don't use something like a vacuum on a computer, because that has a tendency to have static shock tied to it. And if you accidentally shock one of the parts, like the motherboard or the processor, you can fry the whole machine and be spending a pretty penny to fix it. If you're finding you're having trouble with your computer and need help servicing some of the parts, or you want to upgrade your RAM but you don't know how, we'd love to help you. Arvig has lots of computer repair centers, so why don't you go ahead and bring it into one of our retail locations. Or give us a call at 888-99-ARVIG, or find out more info at arvig.com.